بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده ونشكره على هدايته ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين حبيبنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين اللهم صل على محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When I asked about a topic for this week, one topic was proposed, and that was to look at the significance of month of Sha'ban and its a'mal, as well as the prayers and other dhikr and responsibilities and mustahabbat that we have during the month. So I have decided to take the approach that Urafa and mystical figures, mystical scholars have regarding these months. And there are a number of books that they focus on a'mal of each month. Sayyid Ibn Tawus has one and few others. That the month of Sha'ban, Urafa in general consider the month of Rajab, month of Sha'ban, and ultimately the month of Ramadan to be not only a holy period and holy month, but they also think about a critical period for what they call rebirth and regeneration. That during these 3 months, if one pays attention and understands what one's supposed to do, then the consequence at the end will be a different person coming out of these 3 months than the person that went into it. They operate under a number of what we call parameters. First of all, there are verses in the Holy Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks the abd or the servants to really move towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, after outlining the responsibility of the fasting. Then at the end of it comes this ayah, that if my servants ask you about how close I am, where is God, tell them that I'm very close. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِيَ إِذَا دَعَانِ. Whoever asks, I will respond. And another parameter that they use, Urafa, is the concept of love that is the essence of creation. Kuntu, and this famous hadith is something that they relate to and they talk about it constantly. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this hadith Qudsi says that I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known. And because of that desire, the whole creation, the essence of that, the creation is the divine desire to be recognized. So everything that we see within the creation is self-disclosure of Allah on various levels. And I believe we have discussed this in the past. Different levels of self-disclosure leads to the creation of light, the first, then gradually comes down until it reaches to this material cosmos. So that is another issue that they bear in mind. Then they come to what is the consequence of this getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is another hadith, إِذَا تَقَرَّبَ الْعَبْدُ إِلَيَّ شِبْرًا. If the servant decides to come towards me, shibr, it's normally the distance between the small finger and the thumb. تَقَرَّبْتُ إِلَيْهِ ذِرَاعًا. I would move towards this person about say 1 meter. وإذا تقرب إلي ذراعا تقربت منه باعا. If he or she gets close to me or attempts to get to walk towards me with a meter, I walk towards them with a long distance. وإذا أتاني ماشيا أتيته هرولة. And if they walk towards me, I run towards them. They say this kind of hadith that we have, it informs us of that concept of love that percolates, the divine love that seeps and trickles through all the stages of creation. And Allah wants Abd to turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why not certain period of the month or certain month, so to speak, goes Allah or the divine goes out of the divine's way to facilitate ways of making such a return and such a regeneration and rebirth possible for the servants. Allah has already showed Allah's love through the creation. What is absent is from us to reciprocate and send prayers up or get closer. There is another hadith Qudsi that talks about this divine relationship with humans. It says, "Man talabani wajadani." Those who search for me, they will find me. وَمَنْ وَجَدَنِي عَرَفَنِي. Those who find me, they recognize me. معرفة. وَمَنْ عَرَفَنِي أَحَبَّني. Then whoever recognizes me is attracted towards me. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّنِي عَشَقَنِي. And then whoever is attracted to me falls in love with me. وَمَنْ عَشَقَنِي عَشَقْتُهُ. And whoever falls in love with me, I fall in love with him or her. وَمَنْ عَشَقْتُهُ قَتَلْتُهُ. And those who fall in love with me and I fall in love with them, I annihilate their existence. وَمَنْ قَتَلْتُهُ فَعَلَيَّ دِيَتُهُ. And the person that I kill and I help them to annihilate the soul, their ransom is on me, and in reality I become their ransom. فَأَنَا دِيَتُهُ. And there are a number of other hadith that mystical figures they use to construct a worldview that when it comes to month of Rajab, month of Sha'ban, etc., etc., and month of Ramadan, they have a unique policy. For them, ghafla and forgetfulness is the worst sin. And we have a number of verses in the Holy Quran. They even refer to it by using, for example, Munajat Sha'baniyah. If you recite it, it talks about that awsakh al-ghafla, the dirt and the filth that stains one's soul due to forgetfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The soul actually becomes stained. So these are few things that they keep in mind and they cite, and because of those parameters they come up with certain advice. First of all, when it comes to month of Sha'ban, what we talked about in month of Rajab, beginning of month of Rajab, applies. You cannot, and we've talked about this during our few lectures on Sayr and Suluk, no journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can begin or be meaningful if tawbah and repentance is absent. That's why yesterday I sent the instruction for Salat al-Tawbah. Today is Sunday is one of the recommended days. Thursday night is another night that one could go through it. But I have read about the life of a number of scholars. They, because of the fear that they may have missed something, and somehow forgetfulness taken over, they would do it every night. Marhum Bahjat, rahmatullah alayh, they talk about his life, as well as Hassan Zada Amili, Marhum Allama Tabatabai, and others. These were the ones that, despite their strenuous effort to stay close on the path, they would do this Salat al-Tawbah and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them for the shortcoming, however that is defined. This is something that they do it every night. But for us, at least twice a week, Thursday night and Sunday afternoon, should be a must during the month of Sha'ban. So Tawbah is necessary, first step. Without Tawbah, nothing is going to happen. Once Tawbah is done with its own condition, that Tawbah never happens if you don't reflect on the past and you become regretful of the past. If you don't do that, so Tawbah is done, but then the next stage that Arafat talk about is Musharata. Musharata is for us to look at the sins and the shortcomings that we have and pick up one of them, one at a time, and read or understand the consequence of this sin or shortcoming, whether it's backbiting, ghiba, tuhma, lack of prayer, fasting, etc., etc. All of these, and we focus on one of them. We read about the negative consequence of this. Then we make a condition, somehow a deal, for use of a better word, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis, or at least on a short period, half a day. Oh Lord, I would like to stay away, I would like to make a deal and stay away from backbiting at least for 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours. That's the first condition. So you make the condition, and then after this, I'm going to pay attention to myself and not say anything which has even small amount of ghiba or tuhma possibility of it in it. No backbiting. Then comes muraqabah. Once we have made a deal, and they recommend every morning as one wakes up after Salat al-Subh, you sit down between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and focus on one particular character, negative character or trait, and you make a deal. Then the rest of the day you spend watching yourself and thinking about it and making sure that this condition or the deal that you have made is not violated. So muraqabah comes after musharata. Then muhasabah, which comes at the end of the day. Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu, the hadith. You sit down and you take an account of what have I done during the day. I made a deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm not going to lie. And I said I'm going to watch myself. Did I succeed or didn't I? So muhasabah is taking account of everything that you have done to the previous conditions of musharata and muraqabah. And if you think that you have succeeded, then if one has been successful, you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq and the chance that were given to stay within what you have conditioned yourself and you agreed and made the deal. If not, you have to first ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for istighfar, to repent, and then comes the final of these four conditions, mu'aqabah. Mu'aqabah means to discipline oneself by imposing a penalty on oneself. Because I did not stay and nafs al-ammara somehow was stronger and I violated it, you impose something by doing extra prayers, doing extra dhikr, by doing fasting or something as a punishment for nafs al-ammara. Particularly fasting, because it is a practice that tames nafs al-ammara, purifies the soul, and generates the humbleness and the gentle heart, receptive heart that we want to have during these months of Sha'ban and Ramadan which are left. These are the four, generally speaking, that all Arafah they talk about. First, Tawbah, Salat al-Tawbah, and then you sit down, one sits down and goes through all of these four conditions: Musharata, Muraqaba, Muhasaba, and Muaqaba. The Muaqaba should not be, the punishment or discipline should not be with things that are outside the legal parameters. Beating oneself with the chain or somehow bleeding themselves, etc., etc., are not allowed. So some people, they go and violate themselves this way to tame this nafs al-ammara. Much better ways of disciplining oneself, which is through prayer, fasting, extra dhikr, etc. Now, out of these four, there are a number of a'mals that all the scholars, the Arafah, they recommend. Number one is fasting, as many days as possible. The first day of Sha'ban, and if one can go through the whole month. During our days when we were children, as I said it earlier, the family would anticipate the arrival of Rajab and Sha'ban as a unique occasion. And the parents at least would go through this process of preparing themselves for a long period of fasting, at least 15 or 16 days, if not more, during Rajab, and possibly the entire Sha'ban before they get to Ramadan. Because if we are going to be invited to the month of Ramadan, to this table that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so to speak, is going to lay for us, then psychologically, physically, spiritually, we must be ready for it, for that invitation. In the same manner that if somebody invites us for just dinner, you go through the best of your preparation to get ready and be in the right shape. So during the month of Sha'ban, highly recommended fasting as many days as possible. Number two, all scholars talk about this: stay away from material glamour. So during this month, we must reduce as much as possible our attachment to the material world, not to pay attention too much to it. The beginning of the month of Rajab, I mentioned that Arafah, they talk about 5 action or 5 things that we really need to do. Number one, as-sumt. If you remember during the month of Rajab, as-sumt, which means we are conditioned these days to talk rather than to be silent. So during this month, Rajab and Sha'ban and ultimately Ramadan, this is why during the month of Ramadan it says, Nawmakum fihi ibadah. When you stay silent, away from habitual conversation that leads to any kinds of sin, whether it is backbiting or all these sinfulness that comes out of one's speech, we have to condition ourselves to silent most of the time and only speak when people speak to us or when it is necessary. Marhum Hussein Tehrani, in one of his books, talks about his teacher, Allama Tabatabai. He said that when we used to go and see him, we sit probably sometimes half an hour, 45 minutes, and he wouldn't say a thing. He just sat over there, and we knew that this is his approach. And then after 45 minutes, he would come up with a simple question, and after that question was done, that's it. So the idea that we are chatterboxes these days. Constantly we want to talk, constantly we want to express ourselves. A message comes through, immediately I want to respond to the message. The notion that during Salatul Jum'ah, even I turn this gadget off for 10, 15 or half an hour, minutes or half an hour, it doesn't appeal to us. We have as if something is removed from us. إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. ذروا البيع what? Means sever your material relationship. Stay away from it a little bit. Not just don't sell or buy. No, stay away material. So this is something that during the month of Rajab as well as month of Sha'ban is recommended. Then Sawm. We talked about Sawm as well. Dhikr. Then fourth one is Al-Uzla, which means you select only few people that are helping you in your struggle. Avoid sitting and communicating and interacting with people that really take you away from the path that you have chosen. So dhikr and a number of other things are all mentioned. So these are part of the month of Sha'ban as well. If you go to Mafatih, you see immediately the first day of Sha'ban as well as Rajab, there are a number of istighfars that one has to repeat. 70 times astaghfirullah wa as'aluhu at-tawbah as a matter of norm. Or astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim al-Hayy al-Qayyum wa atubu ilayh. That's another, it's recited, recorded, mentioned in Mafatih al-Janan. To give sadaqah is something that in the month of Sha'ban is listed as part of A'mal. And salawat, to say salawat quite often. Then two things that are highly recommended after Salat al-Dhuhr, the Salawat Sha'baniyya that starts with Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, Shajarat al-Nubuwwah, that we recite after Salat al-Dhuhr. And Munajat Sha'baniyya, which is done before Salat al-Subh, either before Salat al-Layl or after Salat al-Layl. It's part of that. And starts Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wasma' du'ai idha nadaytuk. One of the most complex and deep dua that we really need, probably the whole month of Ramadan, to talk about this dua is this dua, Munajat Sha'baniyya, that not only Ahlul Bayt adhere to it, all scholars of Irfan, they recommended it, from Marhum Imam to other scholars. They all recommend that during the month of Sha'ban, Munajat Sha'baniyya is a must for those who want to change and rejuvenate and revive their soul or cleanse their souls. Extra emphasis for one's relationship with Imam al-Asr al-Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif, and most of them they say that that the best way of approach to this, in addition to reciting Dua Faraj, Ziyarat al-Yasin and Dua Nudba, is for us to stay away from sinfulness. That is the best approach to get closer to the Imam. And Tawbah, and stay away from sinfulness. Ihya Laylat Nasf Sha'ban, which you pray all night, and dua, dhikr, and tawassul, you besiege Imam al-Asr wal-Zaman for helping you during this period. And there are a number of other du'as that are listed in either the Mafatih or other books. But to conclude, I think it's critical Tawbah and Salat al-Tawbah, which is critical. The other Muhasaba, Muraqaba, Musharata, Muraqaba, Muhasaba and Muaqaba are critical issues on a daily basis. The issue of fasting is critical because it leads to humbleness and purification of the soul, and the heart becomes receptive, because otherwise it's really ghafla, and forgetfulness leads to hardening of the heart, and heart becomes, according to a number of in Nahj al-Balagha, around the end of it, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi says hearts rot from disease in the same manner that everything else does. So and corruption and disease leads to corruption leads to the heart getting disease and no longer being receptive, and becomes hardened. That's the verse in the Holy Quran that says, hasn't time arrived for the heart of the believers to turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's because of the ghafla. So and also istighfar is critical, tawassul is critical, salawat is critical. There are a number of salat that they say one should offer prayers 1,000 times during the month, or istighfar. All of these are listed in the books of dua. But the major ones that we really have to become used to habitually are Tawbah and the four: Musharata, Muraqaba, Muhasaba and Muaqaba, on a daily basis. On a daily basis. To hopefully, inshallah, as we go through this month of Sha'ban, the holy month which is credited to the Holy Prophet, month of Sha'ban, the month of the Holy Prophet. And there is a hadith from the Holy Prophet says that I love those who help me during this month by using the holiness of this month to purify themselves, regenerate their soul, and gain humbleness and receptive heart. May Allah, inshallah, ta'ala grant us the privilege of being successful during this month, and please keep everybody else in your prayer. One of the highly recommended practices is that pray for somebody else, let others pray for you. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.